Alright, what's really going on? Bitcoin, cryptocurrency. Today, going to be taking a look at XLM against USDT. Going to be taking a look at some of these key technical aspects of price action moving forward. Going to be assessing some of these key areas of support and resistance I believe we're going to be interacting with in the very near future here. Let me know in the comments down below. Do you trade? Do you hold? Or do you let the price action unfold? Are you bullish? Are you bearish on price action moving forward? Do you think we're going to, perhaps start closing above that 38-cent kind of support line here? And then interact with these higher levels that we just came from, perhaps see the dollar stellar level in the kind of coming weeks here? Or are you bearish and you think we're going to plow down through past the support line and we're going to interact with kind of lows sub like 30 cents kind of thing? Let me know in the comments down below your strat moving forward. To kind of recap price action that has interacted kind of up and then sideways, these kind of downward phases of accumulation. We've entered this kind of like range between 38 cents and kind of like 59 cents was where the significant kind of support and resistance kind of lied out. We had swing highs of around 79 cents, but ultimately upon that rejection, we've now interacted through plowing through kind of critical support all the way between kind of like 79 cents. We had that kind of support could have been around 60 cents, 55 cents, and 48 cents. We are now falling through the kind of like last sort of like local support line at 38 cents. And so I suspect based on price action closing kind of downward like that, if we start seeing candles like open and close below that 38-cent support line, we could very well come all the way down to 24 cents perhaps. We could very well set some higher lows relative to the wicks on like 23rd of May and the 19th of May. Say we come down to like 28 cents and or like 30 cents, but it could still be perhaps long-term bullish in my opinion. When we consider EngineeringRobo along with the FIBA Lamborghini lines, in addition to the fear and greed index, we can see a kind of new perspective come into play here. When we consider price action interacting with that 200 daily moving average, we're seeing resistance kind of just above 41 cents. The 0.5 Fibonacci line was significant kind of local resistance moving forward. The 0.382 line at 32 cents is likely to be our kind of next target that we're going to interact with. I do suspect price action to kind of plow through that 200 daily moving average and make its way to 32 cents. 24 cents is going to be kind of my local kind of more bearish target, which would be a lower low relative to those wicks back at the kind of middle of May. And that would perhaps suggest some more prolonged, perhaps bearish price action or some kind of like midterm sideways before we interact with these kind of upper levels here and perhaps see interaction with the FOMO zone again. It was this kind of third sort of interaction with the FOMO zone that brought us down to kind of where we are, and there's very high kind of abundant sell pressure present up in that range, as that is where mid to long-term investors and accumulators are kind of taking profit from the kind of phases of accumulation. Say you're buying in the fear zone of around 8 cents and you sold with our first interaction with the FOMO zone at like 55 cents, you would have made 619% in just over 100 days. So you held to our next interaction, you would have made 735% in like 161 days. Then say you sold with our brief kind of like third interaction here before this grand rejection, you would have made like 878% in 194 days. And so that is more of a kind of like mid to longer term ish kind of hold, rather than like a support and resistance type trader that would be taking profits along the ways, like a accumulator and holder investor would be holding through all this crazy sideways for the kind of like longer term. In my opinion, price action above that 200 daily moving average is going to be bullish long term, and we can still suspect the price action to kind of make its way upward. I don't suspect a reversal to be kind of like forming until we get some more rejections off of perhaps lower highs around like 77 cents or something. But until then, I believe we're going to kind of be bouncing around this 200 daily moving average for a period of time before we kind of make our way back up there. We have these sell 2, sell 3, hell, sell 4, all suggesting some perhaps mid to short to midterm bearish price action and some more bearish accumulation, as we do have an example relatively recently where price action kind of found its way along significant support for like over a month. So we could very well have perhaps a few weeks to a month of accumulation during these lower levels before we make our way back up to the FOMO zone again. When we consider XLM against the price of Bitcoin, we can see a new perspective come into play here. When we consider this kind of rejection off of my zone of flapping, shoving, punching, and scrunching, we have the 1288 to kind of 1208 Satoshi levels being a significant kind of resistance moving forward. And I do believe, since seeing that rejection, I suspect that we can kind of make our way downward to perhaps interact with my kind of support found around 752 Satoshi if we do become bearish enough to. Although there's going to be some significant Fibonacci lines, I believe, that will give us some more local kind of like support and resistance levels that I believe we're going to find interaction with before we make our way down to that level if we do become bearish enough. If we consider now the FIBA Illuminati lines of zucchinis, martinis, Lamborghinis, and bikinis, we can see, in addition to the sell for and hell present against the price of Bitcoin, we can very well see some more bearish kind of targets. Interaction with that 200 daily moving average, I suspect, is likely where price action will find its way to. Say the 200 daily moves kind of above these wicks that are back in, like I was referring to, like 23rd and 19th of May. Price action creating higher lows relative to those wicks, I believe, is still long-term bullish in my opinion. We could have a couple days along that 0.5 Fibonacci line at 988 Satoshi, but I do suspect we'll make our way to perhaps like a bearish target of like 0.382, that 839 Satoshi, but I do suspect a bounce off of the 200 daily moving average to be in our coming kind of like near future here. 0.618 line is significant kind of local resistance at 1135 Satoshi, and so that's just below my kind of zone there at 1205 and 1288. The 0.786 line at 1349 Satoshi is going to be a kind of key level that I believe is going to be significant resistance once we get back up to it. And then my kind of like my next resistance line is going to be 1565. But before we get up there, I do believe we're going to have some perhaps midterm kind of bearish price action, as we're going to perhaps need to find some more support along that 200 daily moving average against the price of Bitcoin for the kind of long-term trend to continue. Ultimately, I'm still bullish long-term in my opinion, although we've had some pretty decent rallies, decent gains so far in the past kind of few weeks, so perhaps a month to a few weeks of sideways is necessary for the uptrend to continue in the long run. When we consider Bitcoin against USDT, we can see price action playing out. We have that lower high forming, resistance found just under kind of 40k, price action coming up to 39.3. We're making our way back down to that 0.5 Fibonacci line at 34,300. Multi-$1,000 ups and downs as we find our way through accumulation. We're going to have very significant sell pressure under that 200 daily moving average 0.618 line at 41,500. There's going to be significant resistance. Like I said, moving forward, I believe we're going to have many rejections off of that line, and a rejection from that line could send us through 34k if we fail to hold it kind of like right now. We seem to be making our way down to it. If we fail to hold that, significant support will be around 32k. What we could, very, very ultimately, it is not impossible to perhaps see this 0.382 line at 27,000 US dollars per Bitcoin. We do have the supersell and sell for present, suggesting some, prolonged, perhaps bearish price action, some sideways, some prolonged phase of accumulation for Bitcoin. But before we can kind of continue the trend upward, as we have had a rather, vertical multi-100% kind of run since, relative time kind of last year. So I mean, since kind of like September of last year, coming from like 10k to kind of where we are now. A 50% correction from like 60k to 30k is rather healthy in my opinion, for the uptrend to continue in the long term. We have price action being below that 200 daily moving average is going to be very significant technical sell pressure, and there's going to be many technical traders suggesting that there's going to be some bearish price action, and that is going to be significant resistance, like I keep saying, kind of moving forward. And the more lower highs we print, the more likely we are to see some kind of lower levels. We do have wicks kind of back in the kind of like beginning of January of this year to kind of like kind of end of January of this year. We have wicks into the kind of like low 30s to like the 29k level. And we could very well see some aggressive price action along that 32k, interacting with like that very high 20s. Ultimately, I am quite bullish long term still, and I do believe we will see the 100k level perhaps this year, and 50k is like is going to be in our coming future. But with EngineeringRobo currently bearish, I do suspect, based on kind of what price action is doing, some prolonged sideways, a phase of accumulation, I definitely believe is necessary for the uptrend to continue in the long term, and perhaps weeks to months of accumulation is necessary before we can see these those higher highs again. But let me know in the comments down below. Are you bullish? Are you bearish? Do you trade? Do you hold? What are you doing during this crazy FUD kind of levels here? We have the fear and FOMO zone. The FOMO zone is still up there at like 94,000 US dollars per Bitcoin. So that is still where the suggested potential market top could potentially be. I ultimately see interaction with the FOMO zone being, I ultimately see we're going to interact with that FOMO zone before we can consider the bull run to be over. I believe this is just a kind of healthy pullback moving forward. But let me know in the comments down below your strat. Are you trading during all this kind of crazy sideways, making some scalps, or are you diamond hands through all this fear, uncertainty, and doubt, holding and accumulating, waiting for all-time highs? Did you sell all at the top? Did you sell at the bottom? Let me know in the comments down below your strat moving forward if you have one. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for hearing my analysis. Try EngineeringRobo free with the link in the description. Check out all the other social media down below. Subscribe here on YouTube and tune in for the next one.